Let's do number 9. Again, we're graphing a hyperbola. Notice that again, this one does not simplify and that there are no holes. First, we'll look for the vertical asymptote. We find that where we set the denominator equal to 0. So we get x equals -4. Our horizontal asymptote is determined by the relative power of the denominator versus the numerator. The power in the denominator is 1. In the numerator, it's 0. Therefore, we're bottom heavy on this function. And our horizontal asymptote would then be y equals k, or in this case, y equals 2. Let's put those asymptotes on the graph. We have a vertical asymptote at x equals -4. We have a horizontal asymptote at y equals 2. Next, we're going to find our intercepts. Our x-intercept occurs where y equals 0. Set 0 equal to y, and let's solve this equation. We'll need to subtract 2 from both sides. -2 equals 1 over x plus 4. I'm going to cross multiply here. And I get -2x minus 8 equals 1. Adding 8 to both sides, I get -2x equals 9. And then I divide both sides by -2, and I get x equals -9/2. This means that we have an x-intercept at -4.5. Let's look for the y-intercept. Our y-intercept occurs where x equals 0. Plugging x equals 0 into our expression above, we get 1 over 4 plus 2. So 2 1/4 is our y-intercept. On the y-axis, we'll go to 2 and up a fourth. This way we have a point on each side of the vertical asymptote, so we'll only need one more on each side in order to sketch our graph. Picking numbers that are easy to work with, I chose -5 and -3. If you plug -5 in for x, you get -1 plus 2 is 1. If you plug -3 in for x, you get 1 plus 2 is 3. Let's add those points to the graph. -5, +1, and -3, +3. Now we can sketch. This hyperbola is very, very close to the intercepts. I'm sorry, very, very close to the asymptotes. Goes through the intercepts and towards the asymptotes. Try not to cross your asymptotes. Also, remember that your graph should not look like it has right angles or that the branches are really horseshoes. They're not at all. They need to approach those asymptotes. I think this graph is complete, save for domain and range. Looking at our domain, remember the only place that our graph does not have an x value is at that vertical asymptote. The vertical asymptote is at -4, so we'll leave domain open at -4, but we'll account for every other real number. For the range, same thing, all real numbers except for +2.